At number 8 on our NHL Draft rankings 2023, it's Zach Benson, the player who I've had the most live viewings of being in Winnipeg. He plays for the Winnipeg ICE. He's not the biggest in stature, but that does not matter when it comes to Zach Benson's overall game. This guy plays with speed. He plays with power. His vision is incredible. If he was 3 inches taller, he'd be a guaranteed top 5 pick.
Yep, definitely. And Ross, I love this player. I mean, Zach Benson, his highlights blew me away. And Ross, even you mentioned this last year. You said Zach Benson's the best player on his team. And Connor Geekie and Matt Savoy are right there. Like he's the best player, and he's not even going to be drafted last year. So I really think that the size is obviously a thing for Zach Benson, but he does so much else away from the puck that if you're so concerned about the size, you're missing the point here. You're missing how good of a player this can be. And he's so young. I'm sure he's going to get some more growth in here. So you can't, like, it's like Erik Karlsson. Like, remember we talked to, was it Pierre we were talking about with Erik Karlsson? And he says, he goes to Brian Murray, I want to select Karlsson. And Brian Murray goes, you really want to put your career on the line for what, a 5'10", 150-pound defenseman? And Pierre says, yes, I do. And I mean, look at Karlsson now. So the people that are so obsessed with the size of these prospects need to chill out a little bit. I will say it does matter when it comes to defensemen and maybe, you know, later round guys, but the guys that have the elite skill of the players like these ones, like Zach Benson specifically, size does not define their effectiveness.
You know what I like to say? They've been small their whole life. Like, it's not like all of a sudden they're like, wow, these guys around me are so much taller. Like, that's been the case his whole career, and it hasn't bothered him one little bit. He's the type of player who thrives in those situations. And ever since he entered the WHL, he was, I want to say, number 1, if not
he was drafted a little later.
14th overall into the WHL, and every year he didn't get a little bit better. He got a lot better. His first year, 24 games, that was in the bubble during COVID, 20 points in 24 games. The next year, absolutely exploded, 63 points, 25 goals in 58 games. And like you said, when I went to go see him live, he was the best player on the ice every single game I saw. I saw 5 games last year. I saw 5 more this year. There was a game they played Regina. It was him and Connor Bedard, and he was the better player on the ice. That one game, obviously, that's why you go see bigger samples, not one. But he was incredible out there. And you look at this year, just exploding. 60 games, 36 goals, 62 assists, good for 98 points and 49 PIMs.
Wow.
Dude, the last 2 years in the postseason, 40 points in 30 games. Now, what's really interesting too, they had like the mighty tots line, we'll call them, in Winnipeg. The 3 players, it was Zach Benson with Connor McLennan in particular for the most part. I'm trying to remember the name of the third guy on that line. And they were all like 6 feet or less. But Matthew Savoy, of course, Matthew Savoy.
There you go.
So the 3 of those guys, first round pick, 8th overall to Buffalo last year. You think size was an issue for them? No chance this year. And he had 40 points in 30 playoff games, because people say, oh, the game gets tougher. You know, you got to be bigger and stronger in the playoffs. That did not seem to be the case for him. Pillsy, rip off these rankings for us, and you can certainly see which one of these guys care about size more than others.
Yeah, no kidding. And before I do that, though, just for the people listening and not looking at this, his size is listed at 5'9", 163. So just so you have an idea of where he fits there. Now, on to the rankings. Bob McKenzie has him at 8. Craig Button has him at 14. Corey Pronman, the lowest on him, at 17.
Huh?
Yeah, 17.
17?
Scott Wheeler and Rachel Dory, both at 6. Chris Peters at 8. And Elite Prospects at 5. So that gives him an average rank of 9.1. And speaking of Elite Prospects, Ross, they're highest on him. And they gave him the number 1 award in motor and two-way forward. Does that sound like a 5'9" guy to you, a guy who has the top motor and he's the top two-way forward? That's what I want to hammer on. We'll get to his offensive skill because I'm not trying to stray away from that. But I just want to focus on how good he is off the puck. That makes his size not a big deal here, because not only, Ross, is he able to deke through defenders with the puck and make incredible moves, but he's almost, if not as good, at picking the puck off defenders' sticks just as much. And you would not expect that from a little guy.
If you go to my Twitter, just go from Ross Levitan Benson. There's one goal that he scored where he picks up the puck, rips around his own circle to regroup, and then just goes through everyone and scores. He is an incredible talent that I hope the Habs don't get, which means they're going to take him.
No.
Based on last year. But he's an incredible talent. I think he's only getting better. And like you said, the defensive aspect of his game is incredible. And you wonder if that's going to be his calling card in the NHL. Maybe not. I see him as more of like a Johnny Gaudreau type player where he's putting the puck from the outside to in. He's always going into the dangerous areas. He's not worried about that. And you look at what Elite Prospects had him at. They tracked 10 of his games manually. Mitch Brown, 5-on-5 only.
Yep.
And you go through like it's offense, defense, and transition. 100 overall. 100. I've never seen that. Usually it's like the great players like 94, 95, 100. And this is what Mitch Brown said about him. Many nights last season, it seemed like 16-year-old Zach Benson was Winnipeg's best play driver on a team that eventually had 3 first-round picks. Hey, doesn't that sound like internet scout Ross Levitan here? He orchestrated the game with high-paced manipulation, quick passing lanes, and a knack for being in the right place at the right time. This guy beyond, and obviously we always have to have the caveat, like outside of Connor Bedard, this guy might be the smartest player in the draft. We talked about Leo Carlson being in the mix with that. We talked about Michkov, Fantilli. This guy needs to be in that discussion. And if he was Fantilli's height, he might be challenging him for second overall. That's how good of a player this guy is.
Yep, I agree. Honestly, I'm so high on this guy. It's mind-boggling to me to think Corey Pronman has him at 17, Ross.
17. No. 17. 17.
Yeah. Wait, that's what I said, isn't it? Or you're just emphasizing it?
It's absurd.
Okay,
it's
yes.
Absolutely absurd. It is. It's honestly like if I was a GM and I had watched as much as I've watched of Zach Benson, which is like 12 games live, I would probably fire that scout.
Nice.
Like, I might have to take Pronman's rankings off our list.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because I could see him in my rankings sneaking into the top 5. Like that's how good he is. And
I think he's 5 for me.
The eye test and analytics match up because this is a quote I want to highlight here from EP from Mitch Brown. So the skill visualized in Brown's manual track data set, Benson's expected primary assist and slot pass success percentage check in at the 100th percentile, which you're talking about. In a sample that includes 700 forwards this season. In a multi-year data set of over 3,000 forwards, his underlying playmaking data is second only to one player, Ross. Try to guess who that player is.
Connor Bedard.
Connor McDavid. The greatest player in the world is the only player that has underlying playmaking data better than Zach Benson. I mean, it's incredible what he does, and all you need to do is look at some highlights of Benson, and you'll see that for yourself. Like he's just so damn shifty out there, and he's a step ahead of, I would even say, his own teammates. I was gonna say the opposition, but honestly, his own teammates might not be ready for the next move he's gonna make.
And when you say that, you have to keep in mind his line mate was an 8th overall pick last year in Matthew Savoy, who's an unbelievable player. Now, something I noticed about Zach Benson is he played a bit of center last year. This year shifted to the wing. And I think that's a better spot for him to use his vision from the boards. It'll kind of give him a little more time and space, I think, to create. And this guy, he's magic. And you know what? Arizona went really heavy on size last year with the geeky pick. Even Maverick Lamoureux, the defenseman they took at the end of the first round, his parents were making out in the crowd. That's an all-time meme. If you haven't seen it, go check that out. Completely aside. But they're also not scared to have smaller players. Look at Matias Michelli as a rookie. And I see some shades of Matias Michelli in Zach Benson, the way that they're able to manipulate their body and make amazing plays. So Zach Benson, to me, you talk about a couple of the things. Well, he was also given on Elite Prospects the award for the best vision in the draft. Like you talked about the defensive aspect of his game, but man, this guy can bring it offensively. I would love for Arizona to take him at 6 if Michkov's not there. That's obviously the prize jewel that if he falls, that's kind of where he should be. Arizona at 6. If Benson gets past 7, because I don't think he's really a Philly player. Although
No, no,
Danny Briere in charge, that's a
nah.
Briere type guy right there. But if this guy goes 8 or later, he might be the steal of the draft.
Honestly, it's that we need to highlight that much, and I really think this is a high risk, high reward player though, because I know I talked about how the size isn't an issue, but it could become an issue. Like not all players are able to transition, but
Well, Reed Bronman there. It's right to your point.
yeah, I was going to say. So here's Corey Pronman, who had him at 17th. There is a fair amount of risk on his projection, but his strong compete and tremendous skill plus track record of scoring makes you think there's still a very good chance he could become a quality top 6 wing in the NHL. Now, Ross, I kind of want to push back on him being a winger. Now, I know the size typically will shift you to the wing, but he's so good defensively that I want him having free roam out there and being able to pick guys' pockets and get in spots. And just with the way his mind works, being a step ahead, if you're a winger, you kind of need to wait for the play to come to you often. So I think that would be a detriment to his hockey IQ because I want him being the guy that gets first touch on the puck and setting things up. So although a small center is tough to do in the pros, I think his best skill set aligns with being a centerman.
So we took a quote from the guy who had him the lowest with Pronman at 17 and the EP draft guide who has him way up at number 5. The EP draft guide says, simply put, Benson does not play small. He's interior driven as a puck carrier, protective on first touch, and capable of establishing inside positioning along the walls for retrievals. Whoever gets this player is getting a heck of a player. And I think that he's going to come back to Winnipeg next year. He's going to absolutely dominate. It's going to be his team, right?
Yeah.
He and Savoy are both graduating. This is going to be Zach Benson's team next year. If they're even in Winnipeg, they're going to move to BC because they're playing at a 1,000 seat stadium right now.
They're going back to BC. They just left Cranbrook.
Well, I mean, if they go back, I heard Chilliwack could be an option. Guess what? Zach Benson played his minor hockey in Chilliwack, BC.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. Interesting.
Yeah, well,
all right.
I want live viewing, so let's keep him in Winnipeg for at least one more year. But that's Zach Benson coming in at number 8, and I grit my teeth because he's not number 8 on our list. But hey, we take our scouts and we just verbal meme. The guy who's like this was like, whoa, hands off for us.
I got Zach Benson as a 5-star guy, 5 out of 5-star guy. Like that, it's incredible just watching him. So I hope that he doesn't get the NHL scout size fall on draft day. But like I said, whoever gets him is going to be very happy, and fans should be excited.
For more on NHL draft coverage, make sure you're following on YouTube. And it could be a Lane Hudson situation where it's just like, you're like, wait, he went where? Yeah. At the draft that quickly after, where it's like hindsight 2020. But no. We told you before that he was that good. That's Zach Benson of the Winnipeg ICE.